Hey there, partners. Gather around the campfire, dust off your spurs, and get ready for a rip-roaring tale that'll transport you straight to the untamed badlands of the American West. If you're craving a story packed with gunsmoke, forbidden whispers from beyond the grave, heart-pounding showdowns, and a dash of that old frontier romance, then you're in the right saloon. Hit that like button if you're ready to saddle up, drop a comment with your wildest West predictions, and share this yarn with your trail buddies so we can keep the legends alive. Today we're spinning a fresh take on a classic, Widow Stakes claim on Savage Outlaw, then he mutters words only her late husband knew. But hold your horse, we've rustled up new names, shifted the dust to a different canyon, and amped up the drama to Hollywood heights. Let's mosey into the heart of Dustwood territory, where the winds howl secrets and the shadows hide more than coyotes. Draw. Botham. In the shadow of the jagged red rock peaks, where the sun baked the earth like a blacksmith's forge, and the coyotes sang dirges to the moon, lay the hard-scrabbled town of Dustwood. It was a speck on the map in Wyoming territory, a place where dreams came to die under the weight of endless ice and unforgiving rock. Folks here scratched a living from the parched soil, herding cattle through thorny gulches, or panning for fool's gold in dried-up creeks. But Dustwood had its share of ghost whispers of lost wagon trains, Apache raids long past, and men who'd vanished into the mountains leaving only echoes behind. They called him the Beast of the Bluffs for good reason. He hadn't uttered a syllable when the posse hauled him down from the high timberline, wrists raw from iron cuffs, beard matted like sagebrush after a storm, and a jagged scar slicing from his temple to his jaw like a lightning bolt carved by the devil himself. He moved like a cornered wolf, eyes darting, wild body coiled tight as a rattler's strike. Rumors swirled thicker than dust devils. Some said he had wrestled grizzlies barehanded up near the Wind River Range. Others swore he'd skinned a cougar alive and worn its hide as a cloak. One truth rang clear: he hadn't descended from those peaks willingly. Marshal Jed Harper and his deputies had tracked him for 4 grueling days through boulder-strewn canyons after he rustled a repeater rifle from a freight wagon bound for Cheyenne. No blood spilled, mind you, but no reasons given neither. He just snatched it and melted into the mist like the law was nothing but campfire smoke. Now here he stood on the splintered auction block in Dustwood's dusty square, a weathered labor bond placard dangling around his neck like a noose. "Too feral," grumbled the farrier to his wide-eyed boy. "Ain't no soul gonna tame that varmint. He'll shatter a pickaxe 'fore he swings it true." "Why not just clap him in irons?" muttered a saloon gal from the crowd. "Jail's overflowing with claim jumpers and card sharps. Judge reckoned a work lease would be cheaper than feeding him through the blizzards." The townsfolk clustered like vultures at a carcass, eyes hungry for the spectacle. A man more beast than brother standing shoeless, under the merciless noon-blaze gaze fixed on the cracked earth as if dreaming of something fiercer than freedom. No one spotted the woman at first. She emerged from the throng like a phantom, rising from the grave, her widow's weeds clinging to her slender form like shadows in twilight. It'd been nigh on 18 moons since her husband was laid to rest atop the bluff overlooking their homestead, but grief etched her face deeper than any canyon wind. Her name was Eliza Thorne, and if sorrow had a silhouette, it'd mirror hers hollow cheeks, eyes like storm clouds, and hands that quivered only in solitude. She strode to the platform, ignoring the gasps, her stare locked not on the gawkers or the badge-toting marshal or the bid ledger nailed beside him, but on the outlaw himself. "Ma'am," the auctioneer stammered, tipping his sweat-stained hat. "You certain I'll claim him," she declared, voice soft as a prairie breeze, but firm as granite. "What's the bond price?" The square fell silent as a graveyard at midnight. A $1 judge figured no taker. "Then consider it taken." She fished a silver eagle from her reticule and slapped it into his palm. "Name's Silas Kane," Marshal Harper growled, uncoiling the rope from the post and thrusting it at her like it burned. "Keep him leashed tight. We don't know his mettle could turn savage as a cornered badger." Eliza said nothing. She pivoted and ambled down the rutted main drag, the outlaw trailing her like a specter finding its form. He didn't query their destination. She didn't volunteer. They just trudged onward, her boots kicking up red dust, his bare soul silent as a ghost tread on the trail waning out of town, past the bone-dry arroyo beyond the chapel yard, where her husband's marker still gleamed fresh under the sage, and out to the ramshackle ranch that had stood half deserted since the flash flood claimed him. She didn't shackle him upon arrival. No commands barked neither. She swung open the corral gate and nodded toward a shadowed nook where a faded saddle blanket lay amid straw bales. "Bunk there," she murmured. Still mute, he sank onto the blanket, back to the weathered plank wall palms resting idle in his lap, like awaiting a verdict from the heavens. That evening, she simmered a pot of venison stew and left a tin bowl by the threshold. Come dawn, it was empty, as a broken promise. Thus commenced this peculiar pactum between a woman wrestling to reclaim her breath and a man who seemed to exhale wilderness itself. Eliza didn't probe his origins. She shunned queries about the pilfered rifle or what demons drove him from the peaks. All she witnessed was his prowess. He split logs with the fury of a nor'easter, hauled plow beams across the barren fields with a steed's endurance, and patched the leaky cabin roof with a stoic grace that belied the feral fire in his veins. Yet he remained silent until the tempest struck. It roared in like a stampede of thundering mustangs, winds howling fierce, as banshees rip and shakes from the homestead eaves. Eliza dashed out to lash down the clothesline skirts, whipping wild hail pelting her like buckshot. A lightning fork split the sky over the bluff. And there he was, Silas seizing her wrist, yanking her under the overhang, just as another bolt cratered the earth a stone's throw away. She gasped, drenched to the bone pulse racing like a runaway stagecoach. He loomed too near, eyes blazing like embers, jaw set hard as flint. Then he rasped it. Not a holler, scarcely a breath, mere words hushed and holy. "Can't afford to lose you too." Her legs buckled like a greenhorn's in a bronc bust. Those syllables hadn't crossed her ears since the day her husband Elijah wheezed them from bloodied lips as he lay pinned neath the collapsed mine shaft timber, crushing his chest in the gulch below their spread. No soul alive knew those words. No one could have. She gaped at the outlaw thunder crashing round him, breath snared in her throat. "What did you just say?" she choked. He blinked, perplexed, then turned and vanished into the downpour. Sleep evaded her that night. Couldn't. She huddled by the hearth shawl, clutched tight, heart pounding like war drums. Come morn, he was gone. So was the old sorrel horse, Rusty. She scoured the corral, the scrub land, even the wash where Elijah once panned for nuggets. Nothing. But there, scratched in the dirt by the cabin step with a broken twig, a solitary line I remember. It defied logic, yet it unlocked every locked door in her soul, for Elijah had uttered it endless times when she misplaced the lantern wick, scorched the biscuits, or sobbed over the stillborn babe they'd buried neath the cottonwood. I remember he'd soothe, pressing her palm to his heart. "All the gold we've struck, Liza, even when the vein runs dry." She crumpled beside that etched promise and wept, tears mixing with the mud, the first true cry since Elijah's passing. Whatever this Silas was, he bore something not his own, or perhaps something always meant for her. His trail was faint as a whisper, a snapped mesquite branch by the creek boot prints, half erased by the night's deluge, a tuft of Rusty's mane snagged on barbed wire down in the south draw. But Eliza had mastered reading voids better than most. After moons of empty chairs at supper, cold bedrolls, and boots gathering dust on the porch, she sensed passages that didn't circle back. She spent the forenoon astride Elijah's faithful bay mare, Daisy saddle creaking, as she probed beyond the fence line up toward the ridge line, where junipers crowded thick and the heavens vanished in a tangle of needles and mist. Daisy snorted uneasy, but Eliza urged her on. Something had stirred within her. That dirt-scrawled vow wasn't a farewell, it was a summons. Grief had schooled her that sense seldom rode shotgun. You could be hanging wash on a calm day and a whiff of lye-soaped send you tumbling, or brush a stranger's sleeve and recall what it meant to love so fierce your spirit felt lone. She spied Rusty first hitched neath a twisted pinyon on the lookout bluff, munching sparse grass with patient chomps. Silas was absent. She dismounted, patted the sorrel's flank, and tracked the faint path upward, each bootfall winding tighter into the rock, like the bluff held its tongue. There he perched on the precipice, knees hugged to chest arms, folded shirt plastered with sweat, the vast basin sprawling below, clouds skimming low as if fearing to intrude. She didn't holler, just lingered till he pivoted. "Didn't aim to spook you." he murmured, voice gravelly as a rock slide, unused and raw. Her heart thundered like hooves on hardpan. You remembered, she breathed. He dipped his chin once. I see visions, he confessed. Things that ain't mine to claim. Faces unknown, names etched in my skull like brands. She edged nearer. What visions? His stare fixed on the distant haze. A child's wail that never breaks. The groan of timbers snapping. A man's fists calloused from hauling ore too heavy. And a woman, always a woman, keening in a patch of yucca blooms. Eliza's breath hitched. That yucca patch lay hidden behind the cabin, her secret sanctuary for grief after burying the babe after interring Elijah. Only the Almighty knew it. Who are you? She whispered. He shook his head slow. Lost that trail long ago. They brand me savage rustler fugitive. Claim I fled fire and kin and reckoning, but sometimes I glimpse more than a man ought. The crones in the canyons call it a curse or a gift, Eliza ventured. He met her gaze then truly, and in those depths flickered something kinship agony, yearning as if his eyes had once brimmed with mirth and tenderness, but the wild had whittled him hollow. I didn't snatch that repeater to spill blood, he said. Hunger gnawed cold, bit deeper. Never meant to leave the bluffs, but they hunted me down. She knelt beside him, skirt brushing dry needles. You echoed my husband's dying words. Heard him in a fever dream, he whispered. Plain as a gunshot, a fella gasping with dust in his lungs, clinging to love like the last sip from a canteen. Eliza clutched her bodice, stifling the fresh ache. She'd entombed those memories deeper than any mineshaft. Never shared 'em, she said. Not with the doc, not the parson, just me and him in that gulch shaft collapsed sky-bleeding crimson. He fell silent, statue still, letting the quiet speak volumes. They descended together, Rusty plodding behind, no chatter. That night, Eliza rustled up, grub again, corn dodgers this time, rabbit chili laced with chili peppers and sage. She didn't leave it at the door. Set 2 bowls on the scarred pine table and beckoned the empty chair. The outlaw sat. They ate in hush flames, dancing soft, the mantel clock ticking like it had when Elijah breathed. As plates cleared, he spoke. Gentry. What? My name, I reckon. He gazed down. Came in last night's vision. You called it in the yucca right 'fore kissing my brow and saying... He halted. Eliza's fork clattered. Saying what? She exhaled. He locked eyes. Don't forget the scent of rain on sage. Tears cascaded before she could dam him. That had been her final whisper before they pried the babe from her grasp. A ritual Elijah murmured each monsoon season when the desert bloomed. Private as a hidden spring unspoken for years. You're not Elijah, she quavered. Can't be. He nodded. I know. But you recall what only he did. Another nod. Can't fathom how. She paced, chest heaving. The room shrank, shadows stretching like fingers. Someone send you some cruel jest. No, Gentry whispered. Wish it were. She whirled, fists balled. Then what specter, vessel possessed by his spirit? He didn't quail. Just a drifter. But your anguish, your echoes, they're woven in me. Like ghosts I can't outrun. Eliza collapsed into the chair, shaken. Ain't fair, she said. Hearing his words from another man's lips. I know. Then why speak 'em? He regarded her with sorrow that could shatter boulders. 'Cause something in me craves for you to recollect. They lingered, long air thick with unsaid burdens. Outside winds shifted. Jackrabbits scampered distant. At last, Eliza rose and headed for the door. Glanced back. Come sunup, she rasped. Ride out if you must. Won't bar your path. He said naught, just watched her fade into the gloom. But dawn found Gentry still there, chopping kindling in the yard, sweat gleaming like dew on a colt's hide. And that chilled her more than any phantom. For weeks, Eliza observed him from lace curtains. He toiled with a quiet grit that mirrored Elijah, so uncanny it frayed her nerves. The swing of his axe, the squared shoulders fencing the pasture, the gentle coaxing of Rusty, who balked at every post, all echoed the man she'd lowered into the earth 2 winters prior. But it weren't just motions. It was omissions he never pried about the grave under the cottonwood with twin markers entwined in wild mustard, never queried the bolted loft room, never laid a finger without consent, though his gaze sometimes lingered like a caressed grief glinting deep as a bottomless well. She kept distance mostly not from fear of him, but dread of hope. Town tongues wagged unchecked. Whispers slithered through the mercantile behind chapel benches, round the livery where cowpokes jawed like crows. Eliza Thorne's gone, and Lassiter herself a renegade. They'd snicker, brows arched. Feral as a mountain lion, they say, liable to turn. Some days Eliza itched to fling open the sash and bellow, "He's gentler than your sorry hides ever dreamed." But she held her peace, tending to sewing, preserving, mending coops, letting Gentry bunk in the hayloft where Elijah stored tack. She let him labor, let him linger. And when she caught him humming Elijah's old trail ballad unwitting, she fled the room for her knees folded. One dusk, she stood at the garden's fringe, staring at wilted squash vines, overgrown cholla weeds choking like a noose. Gentry approached, wiping grime on his bandana. "Aim to salvage this?" he asked mild. She shook her head, arms crossed. "Abandoned it. Soil soured after he went." "Why?" "Tried that first spring. Every sprout withered like mourning the lost too." He knelt palm flat to the dirt, listening as if it pulsed. After a beat, he glanced up. "Let me wrangle it." She blinked. "Why bother?" He paused. "'Cause something whispers you need to watch life take root again." So she yielded. Over the following days, he wrestled the earth like taming a wild stallion, dug deep, folded in manure, sowed seeds deliberate. She watched from the veranda, heart knotted, pondering how a man scarce recalling his own moniker mimicked Elijah's tillin' rhythm, exact same low whistle, same reverent touch to the loam. Then the missive arrived, delivered Tuesday by a rider on a dun gelding, wax sealed from a law outfit in Laramie. Eliza slivered it at the kitchen slab, vision blurring as words leaped. A prospect and syndicate had snapped up adjoining acres land. Elijah once eyed and now coveted, burrowing rights under her eastern grays. "We suspect rich veins snake into your claim," it read. "Generous recompense offered." Eliza stared, wind knocked out. That eastern pasture cradled the buried cradle, pine hewn by Elijah's hands, interred one moonless night, 'cause she couldn't abide its sight but couldn't torch it neither. It weren't mere dirt, it was hallowed ground. She balled the parchment and fed it to the stove flames, devouring it greedy. Later, Gentry found her hunched on the stoop, eyes rimmed red. "Trouble brewing," he crouched near. She nodded. "They want to excavate the sacred patch." He waited. "Buried something there," she murmured. "A cradle, his craftsmanship pure. Never cradled our little one." Gentry averted his eyes. "The babe," she affirmed, wordless. He rose deliberate. "We bar their path. How can't buck a syndicate? I'll scout a trail." And his tone held no bluster, just iron resolve, like a man with nothing left but his stand. Next morning he lit out at first light, rusty saddled, jerky pouch slung Eliza's deed clutched. Didn't say whither, just tipped his brim and vowed return. She paced. Days dragged 1-2. By the third veranda vigil became torment. Fourth she harnessed Daisy and pursued. Found him on Dustwood's outskirts by the assayer's shack, conferring with a bespectacled elder, peering at faded plats through a loop. Gentry wheeled, eyes alight. Their surveys off 30 paces shy, cradles secure. Eliza gawked. "How'd you buck up?" "Recollected," he said plain. A murmur about boundary stakes sunk near the rim. "Dug 'em up." She whispered, "That murmur. Mine." He shook no. Older timbre. That evening, after twilight bled into honeysuckle scent, Eliza sat at veranda side with him. 2 tin cups of chicory steaming. No words, just rocker creak, cricket chorus, 2 hearts sinking through the dusk. After silence stretched, he spoke. "More to it," she turned. "Dreamed your likeness, for our paths crossed," he said. "Kneeling by a marker, pleading with the gale, and my gut knew I'd roamed lifetimes seeking you." Eliza shut her eyes, tears brimming. "And I glimpsed you, or your kin, never reckoned you'd manifest." He extended a hand, tentative, calloused, yet tender. Hers met it. Neither recoiled, not that night. As stars pierced the veil, they held fast history, and now colliding in wordless communion. Rain fell next morn, gentle as a lover's sigh, soaking the thirsty ground like seeking pardon. Eliza stood window-bound, shawl, draped mug, warm watching droplets, trace pains like sorrow's paths. Sleep had dodged her, not from dread, but a seismic shift within. Gentry made her feel guarded, not just by brawn or vow to shield the claim. Deeper his listening, his silent vigil, his grasp of her hand, like honor in the cradle's ghost. He was subdued that dawn, too. Perched on the veranda, honing the axe jaw, clenched thoughts distant as the Rockies. She fetched him a biscuit slathered in prickly pear jelly. He nodded gratitude, but evaded her gaze. A storm brewed in those eyes unspoken. When clouds parted and light gilded the mesas, he cinched Rusty's girth. Got a scout north a spell. Eliza's lungs seized. Why but? Something rankles, that boundary ancient. Voice nagging, there's more buried. Whose voice, bear whisper? He faltered. Yours, just yet not. Baffling, but she didn't halt him. Watched him fade into the timbered trace toward the foothills. 3 days crawled. She folded linens, needless, swept spotless boards, inventoried the root cellar thrice hourly for distraction. Nights she stared at his empty chair by the fire awaiting like her. Fourth eve a rap echoed past Gloman. She bolted to the door, not Gentry. A stranger in ebony duster beard, wiry as barbed wire eyes, coal-black. 2 compadres loomed rear-armed, heavy, attired sharp. Ma'am, he drawled, hat doffed. Harlan Voss, representing Blackwood Prospectors Guild. Heard you spurned our bid. She straightened. Burned it to ash. He chuckled cold. Admire your grit truly, but the load under your gray's worth more'n your hens and honey. Not sellin'. You ain't, but maybe your stray hound is. She stiffened. See that fella you claim Gentry ain't his handle. Long shadow trails him. Bolted from Iron Gulch Stockade 3 seasons back. Real moniker Silas Kane. We've hunted him. You're spittin' lies. Voss grinned thin. Wish so, but he's wanted volatile. Harboring him law might frown. Her fists clenched. He ain't harmed a fly. Yet, Voss said. Sign the rights we forget citing him. Get off my spread, he doffed again. As you wish, but kindness was offered. They vanished as sun-dipped leaving dust and dread. Eliza Porch sat hours staring the trail, praying his return. He did it cock-crow, mud-caked garb, rent eyes wild as a Mustang's. Dismounted Ginger, favoring his flank. She rushed steadying him. What befell? Trailed by shadows near Eagle's Nest. Shook him. She guided him in boiled rags bound his side. As she tended, he murmured, visitors came. Saw the prince, he added. 3 mounts, 1 city shod. Voss. She nodded. Claimed you ain't who you seem. He quieted long. Then, they ain't wrong. Eliza's heart twisted. Meanin', eyes red-rimmed, he met hers. Memory's foggy, but Iron Gulch rings true. In a woman's shriek. Didn't touch her, Eliza swear it, but couldn't prove so I lit out. Tears stung. Why hide it? Thought I could rebirth. Be fresh. Be the man Elijah was. She retreated. I never laid harm, he insisted. They needed a scapegoat, a nameless drifter. That's why the markers, the ballad, the porch whisper, Elijah's alone. Gentry nodded. Can't unravel it, but he haunts my marrow. Like his essence seeped in, guiding me to carry his load. Eliza shook her head. Defies reason. Maybe, he breathed, but neither does knowing your fence knot, or the hidden molasses jug under the planks, or dreaming your name, for our eyes met. She stared soul fracture. Then, you gotta go. He blinked. Eliza, if Voss speaks true, they'll return. Can't guard you. Not leaving. Must. If they snare you, you're gone. Can't lose another I cherish. He neared, cupped her face. Let me stand for you. Her fingers gripped his wrists. How dig not for or for truth, found a logbook up north. Entries, timestamps. If it clears me that shriek night, Eliza's eyes widened. They can't touch, he affirmed, but need time, trust. She silent forehead to his. For a spell, no history, no guild, no race, just souls entwined in grief's wilds. That night she rocked by the fire, clutching his ledger scrawl, script bold, Silas Kane shaft 4B, in Jan 3/1800, out Jan 4/06 euro, soloed Jan 3/22, 15-mile distant, a foothold. For the first time in eons, Eliza dared hope. But unbeknownst, Voss had looped back to Dustwood Wirin, not Iron Gulch, but a deadlier sort. Bounty man Rex Slade. He cared naught for right or wrong, only bounty gold. And Eliza couldn't foresee the past she'd defied already thunder in her way, spurs jangling, mercy absent. Morn broke hushed land, holding breath like for a gully washer. Eliza stirred to chill, seeping planks, but cold weren't the wakener. It was the lumen weight. She sat rocker-bound, ledger gripped. Fire embers glowed faint. Cabin silent, but thoughts roared like a flash flood. Gentry or Silas hadn't budged from the pallet. His side plagued him bruises telling of Morna trail tumble. She'd salved with yarrow and wraps, but truth shone in his labored rise, trembling hand on the mug. Body failing yet, he clung fierce. She brewed coffee black as midnight set it near. He didn't stir eyes, but nodded faint. She perched opposite steam curling. Gotta know, she said. Those porch words Elijah's how'd they surface, he averted. Don't. Try, he sighed. A rumble like wind through slot canyons but buried. In slumber it shapes words. First sight of you, it boomed. She speaks soft, but the wilds fall silent. Chest constricted, exact lilt. Elijah's murmur first time she wept for him. Gentry couldn't know. None could. Scares me, he added. Wonder if I'm recalling or another's through me. She clasped his hand. Maybe origins don't matter. What's real is your deeds now. He eyed her unspoken glint, but the moment shattered 3 sharp raps. Gentry tensed fingers inching to the Winchester under the table. Eliza rose barriered tween him and portal. Cracked its sliver. Marshal Harper stood hat and fist deputy flanking. Behind 4 mounts, 2 strangers and Voss smug as a fox in the coop. Eliza, Harper sighed. Questions need Aaron. What breed? Voice steady as steel. About the drifter, inside. Silas Kane. She stepped outdoor ajar. Calls himself Gentry. Voss barked a laugh. No, ma'am. And the marshal's got paper proven. Harper shifted. Ain't here for ruckus, but if he's the one, gotta haul him. On what Gil's yarn? On Iron Gulch warrant half-year fresh. Hands quivered, but she gripped rail. And if you do trial proper, Eliza advanced. They near lynched him once. Reckon they'll halt. Voss sneered. Merciful we are. Hand him no trespass charge for your claim squat. Lion Eliza spat. Snatch him anyhow. But meddle in your aidin' a bolter, Voss snapped. Harper interposed palm on iron. No escalating. Too late. Door creaked. Gentry framed Winchester, steady blood seeping fresh. She ain't at aidin'. Here I stand. Voss smirked. Easier than expected. No, Gentry said. Not leavin' without hearin' true one with proof. No hearin', Voss said. Just irons in a cell. Then take me cold. Barrel leveled. Harper blocked holster hand. Easy. No blood today? Gentry's aim held. Tell him scat. Can't, Harper said. Eliza descended face and all. Got proof. Ledger pins him distant that night. Voss scoffed. Forged tripe. Harper's brow furrowed. Show. She fetched the copy hand shaken. He scanned twice. If legit, mile from the fray. Voss flushed. Proves zilch no seal. But I know the original's lair, Eliza said. We'll swear oath. Harper paused, turned to deputy. Wire Iron Gulch. Query shaft 4B logs. Hold arrest till reply. Voss crimsoned. Folly. No, Eliza said. Reckonin'. Harper pocketed the scrawl. He stays local under watch. Daily checks. Voss spat. Fool Harper. Better than your smarts. They rode off dust warning. When Horizon swallowed him, Eliza sagged against post. Gentry caught her. Thought you'd yield me. Near did. He eased her to your rocker knelt. Why not? She met his wet eyes. Something believes you're more than tales. He brushed her cheek. 'Cause of you. They sat wind listening, but leagues away in a guild tent by the dig Voss scrawled by lantern. Not to Iron Gulch to Rex Slade. Bounty hunter cared for gold alone. And Eliza's defiance galloped doom her door. Next pair of days hung like thunderheads over the Sierra's quiet first, but pregnant with dark. Eliza strove calm, routines rigid. Harper rode dawn daily, inspecting, nodding at Gentry, sipping coffee, for tipping hat and trotting townward. but his smile masked wary eyes. Gentry mended slow. Flank throbbed hands quivered pouring, but silence gnawed worse. The man once spilling thoughts like rain now clammed tight. Eyes scanned tree-line ears pricked at stray clops. Twice midnight Eliza spied him porch-perched, Winchester lap-bound, still as a sentinel coyote. She pressed third night after supper. Hush firelight dancing kettle steam, poured tea placed his. He didn't lift gaze. Ain't touched the mouth organ days. Too noisy. You favored noise. Hands cupped, mug silent. Gentry, she sat opposite soft. What are we truly awaitin'? He looked up, eyes clearer but colder, like he'd parceled his heart and shipped it wild. Voss won't quit warrant or no. Ain't justice, he craves silence. Secrets in them hills, Eliza. One's men like Voss had torched peaks to bury. Then law it? He shook. Law's only strong as the star. Harper's decent, but one man gainst a gale. Ain't alone. But you could be, if comin' storm hits me first. Throat tight. Then his eyes held fear not of end, but loss. If I fall, quiet, take the boy's head west. Follow the arroyo past Rattlesnake Bend. Scarlet shack with elk racks roof nailed. Gal named Sadie dwells, owes me deep. You ain't dying, voice rising, ensuring your safety. She seized his hand. You revived me. Don't abandon now. He held gaze nodded, but resolve lingered. Sleep fled her that night. Not fear, but that pre-break wait like Elijah's last missing home. Just 'fore dawn sound came. Not wrapped twigs snap. Another, saddle-grown sly. She rose stealth, back to wall peaked, curtain slit. One shadow at trees. Second trailed. Third, no badges, no law stance. These weren't lawmen. Gentry stood Winchester ready, shirtless wraps tight on ribs and flank eyes keen. 4, whisper. Maybe 5. Think us slumberin'. He glanced boys' room. Rouse Luke and Wyatt. Heard to the crawl hole under hearth. Don't lift trap less I signal. And you. Bought time fleeing, now buy more. 4 argue he pressed mouth organ. Heard it last night, voice named. What name? No answer. She obeyed, bundled sleepy twins, whispered 'em down the dank space. Kissed brows replaced panel rug over. Gentry aided just as first stone, shattered pane glass sprain. Voice low mockin'. Out Cain. No need widow caught in crossfire. Gentry flung door wide. Wind whipped firelight crowning his hair. Still kickin', bounty dogs worthless. Shadow stirred. Tall figure emerged tree rear. Eliza froze. More wolf than man, cheek scarred, duster stained blood and clay. Rifle fused to spine. Rex Slade, Gentry said. Must be. I must. Kill for silver. No, 'cause some deserve it. Silver sweetens. Gentry porch stepped. Traveled far. Jaw like men. No thrill, Slade said raisin. But Gentry's bucked quicker. Blast felled one shadow, then another. Woods erupted gunfire. Eliza floored ears covered praying fierce. Heard Gentry yell, stay low guard boys. Back door burst. Not Slade Voss. Circled. Grabbed her arm hauled. Think this ends with him, snarl. Rewrite facts. She kicked bit but strong, dragged thresholdward. Then Gentry loomed, bloodied, bruised, standin'. No. Voss gunned. Gentry fired. Voss staggered, dropped her folded like felled oak. Slade's voice treed. Back for you, Cain. Silence. Wind turned. Eliza rushed out, rifle high, nothing but blood, smear empty brush. Law arrived, morn gunfire echo callin'. Harper found 4 corpses, 1 maimed bounty, mute eternal cabin scarred but standin'. Gentry spoke sparse that day. But night boys abet Eliza hearthside with him, he murmured soft. Wherever Elijah rests, he ain't fearful. Why? Knows you weren't forsaken. Heartache true, but in following hush something shifted. Not shattered, not scorched whole. Afternoon, Eliza found him fence leanin', staring where Slade vanished. Thumb tapping post, rhythmic coaxin' win secrets. He's lurkin' without turn. Long fled. No finished hunts. She sighted him hand on arm. Show him our stance. But gut churned heaviness like ground unsettled. That night, thunderhead burst violent near Ripon Roof. Boys whimpered abed. Eliza lay awake, lightning silhouette in Gentry's pace, Winchester slung. Storm natural but omen-tinged. Dawn cleared clouds but purity absent. 2 days, no Slade sign, no prints, no snapped twigs. Yet Gentry vigilant. Insisted woodchop despite limp, claiming frost prep. Eliza argued, lost. Axe taken, he hobbled woodsward, kissing her crown first. That peck spoke tomes. When dusk fell without him, Eliza's heart raced. Morn it stampeded. Bundled twins saddled Rusty followed his path. Tracks faint rain washed but pursued. Trees thinned, called name. Echo only, then axe-embedded trunk blade, crimson-coated. Beside torn flannel scrap. Beyond drag marks, not prey, but fighter unyielding. Reins gripped white, streamed inwardly. Dismounted tide, Rusty drew Derringer Gentry left. Tracked marks step whisper and plea, Lord, don't claim him for me. Led to dilapidated shack veiled in chaparral. Ancient forsaken, save smoke wispy from flue shadow flickering shutter. Crouched circled rear, cellar half ajar. Peered, heart near burst. Gentry chair bound, face bloodied. Shirt strip of ribs mottled purple, but breathing. For him Slade sharpened and blade on whetstone, slow ritual. Eliza didn't dally, shoved cellar burst Derringer high. Back off, quaver. Slade looked startled, not scared. Widow joins. Release him. Misunderstand, miss. Seen monsters, not yet. Shot at feet. He flinched. Smiled. Gentry stirred. Eliza. Here, ain't leaving. Run, rasp. Not solo. Too late. Figure door rear. But four grabbed, Gentry surged, shattering chair ramming, Slade both tumbling. Eliza spun fired. Second fell. Grabbed wood shard, stabbed Slade's side as Gentry pinned. Howl. Shouldn't touch her, Gentry growled. Slade's eyes bulged. That voice! Whispered unheard to Eliza. What? Gentry hissed. Slade laughed bloody. Said same 'fore I gutted him. Eliza reeled. Meanin', knew your man. Slade nodded. Screams your name dying. Gentry stared. Truth, what did you say he back? Slade smirked. Said guard her as you did. Gentry paled. Then Slade repeated. Phrase only Elijah shared nightly pre-slumber waltz. Tomorrow's dawn bursts eternity. Tears welled, knees buckled, Slade cackled, stopped. Gentry's grip throttled last breath. Don't know how you knew, Gentry said, but peace is forfeit. Later, Gentry limped cellar battered. Eliza reins held twins saddled, silent, pressed mouth organ. Spoke words only we knew quiet. Not from you, right, Gentry-eyed instrument. No dream night for meetin'. Said tender, won't beg but needs. Why you'd none? Unknown. She leaned. Wrong, I begged. Day I claimed you pleaded miracle. Got one. Gentry horizon gaze sun rising. Whispered to wind tomorrow's dawn, birth's eternity. No longer loaned. Theirs. Sunrise weren't ordinary. Broke Mesa slow golden laying balm on scars like divine touch. Eliza barefoot, porch dress, him fluttering hair tousled. Didn't fix. Hands folded, belly praying not for salvation, for gratitude. Rear Gentry crutch emerged, self-carved night prior. Ribs, bound eyes puffed, but stance tall. Luke claims you summoned sun. Gentry exhaled. You did. Kept me drawing air. You and that pea shooter. Faint smile. Wyatt says you slumber one eye vigilant, one boot heaven bound. Gentry chuckled, pained. Makes a man ponder. She turned full-faced gentle lips, quivering subtle love's notice. Looked like awaitin'. Was. Now it awaits me. What? She met eyes soft. Peace, Gentry furrowed. Sounds like farewell. No, she said. Decision to abide. Gentry swallowed. Fingers twitched reachward, uncertain. Boys adore you. No, and I think voice waver. I do too. Gentry eyes shut. Won't demand what ain't ready. Already demanded day, I claimed. He palm up. She placed hers. Never owned. Why then smile tremble? Scared, weary, crave strength to lift grief 5 ticks. Then you saw me unbroken. He shook gentle. Never said unbroken. Said I was too. Maybe why we mesh. She stepped close, head to chest, heart steady beneath. From door voice piped. Gentry kissed my parted, see Luke Wyatt giggling. Did not, Gentry flushed. Did Wyatt triumphant. Eliza laughed true, free, radiant. Gentry muttered about snitches, spoons. Morn remained her joy quiet. Gentry taught boys whittle roasting sticks. Eliza kneaded dough twins, flour-dusted mimicking. Cabin once grief mute echoed life reborn. But peace, fragile world, cruel tests, deservedness. Noon near rider trail up. Eliza dust spied. Gentry rose, chop block, crutch, one axe other. Rider fast, not reckless, Harper. Dismounted eyes bouncing. Baron tidens. Eliza forward. Good or ill, hat off hand through gray. Depends. What? Gentry asked. Sigh. Unearthed Slade's ledger. Gentry stilled. Eliza caught breath. Tracked his harms. Paid not sport. By who? Gentry. Name recurrent, Blackwood. Eliza Bolner dropped. No, Gentry stepped. Certain? Script matches figures align. Him. Gentry jaw tight. Thought dead. Assumed. Posed nephew running north spread. Scarred hollow calls self-Harlan now changed post-feds hunt. Eliza wobbled table gripped. Now Harper eyed. Reckon he rides for you. Gentry flexed. Welcome him. No, Eliza interjected. Ain't waiting more harm. Gentry surprised. She blazed. N for Elijah, all vein Blackwood used. Gentry hesitated, nodded. Harper tossed map. Hole up spot, ride joint. Gentry caught narrowed. I lead. Eliza hand up. With me. Harper shook. Kids. And fury, counts. Gentry no argue. Knew futile. Afternoon out, Eliza Gentry Harper boys with Valley Widow, who'd lost hers, yearning mother chance. Twins wept. Eliza vowed returnin', meant. Trail cooled foothills, map true. Nightfall smoke curled cave near old shaft. Gentry in first. Inside Blackwood waited. Aged poor beard, ragged teeth, stained face, spectral eyes sharp. Stole all Gentry cold. No Blackwood. You surrendered. Hired killers for young torched homes. Blackwood laughed. Page names, yours alone I craved, but you hid coward. Gentry advanced. Right, ashamed. No more. Eliza entered. Blackwood froze. Smirk fled. You. Didn't finish. She raised Elijah's colt. Whispered to him, dying, recall. Blackwood sneered. Hoped you'd shatter. Eliza blazed. Didn't. Trigger pulled. Chest shot. Gentry caught her adrenal fall. Bruises masked. Stayed upright. Gun steady. Watched Blackwood gasp. Claw air vein. Over. Buried in shaft. Dust claim him. Homeward boys shrieked joy. Widow clapped, wept, said never seen woman ride danger straight. Night fireside, Luke lap curled Gentry. Our paw now. Gentry Eliza glanced. Nod. If you'll have. Already Wyatt blanket muffled. Ma too. Gentry eyed Eliza. Fire watching, not him, but lip curved smile. As flames cracked, wind whispered, Gentry leaned lips temple brush. Whispered anew. Words once soul. Tomorrow's dawn births eternity. No borrow. Theirs. Whew, what a wild ride through the Badlands, eh, folks? From the dusty streets of Dustwood to the heart-wrenching secrets of the Red Rock Peaks, Eliza. Thorne found not just a savage outlaw in Silas Kane, but a bridge to healing love reborn and justice hard won against the likes of Harlan Voss, Rex Slade, and that snake Harlan Blackwood. It's a tale of ghosts whispering from the grave showdowns that'd make John Wayne proud and a widow rising like a phoenix from the ashes. If this yarn got your blood pumping and your imagination firing, smash that like button, comment your favorite showdown, or twist below and share it with every cowpoke and pioneer in your circle. We gotta keep these Western legends galloping. Thanks a million for joining the trail partners. Y'all make the frontier feel alive. Until next time, keep your powder dry and your hearts open. Adios.